Last night wasn't just another football match, it was the beginning of something bigger. Sydney Olympic versus South Melbourne. Two names that, for anyone who grew up during the NSL era, mean something deep. For me, it wasn't just nostalgia, it was like watching a bridge being rebuilt between Australia's football past and its future. Growing up, I was a Sydney Olympic kid. It was my local team, my mates were Greek, and football was our common language. Even if I got thrown into Sydney United in the schoolyard because I wasn't Greek, it never mattered, the game itself connected us. Eventually, I earned my way back to the blue and white because, honestly, I was one of the best in my grade. Those were the days when football wasn't about glamour or media coverage, it was about pride, passion, and community. When the NSL collapsed and the A-League took over, I felt that loss like many others. But Sydney FC came along and gave me something to believe in again. Over the years, I've come to love that club more than any other team in the world. For me, it represents what modern Australian football has become: professional, passionate, and pushing forward. But for a long time, something's been missing. The A-League became our top division, but it didn't completely replace the deep community roots that the NSL once had. Those local clubs, Sydney Olympic, South Melbourne, Marconi, Wollongong, APIA, Preston Lions, they never really disappeared. They just waited. They kept the lights on, kept the juniors playing, and kept the faith alive that one day, real national competition would return. And now, finally, the Australian Championship has begun, a genuine second division. It might not have the hype or TV budgets of the A-League yet, but for the fans who lived through the transition, it feels like the next piece of the puzzle. The opening match between Sydney Olympic and South Melbourne had everything you could ask for in a symbolic launch: passion, tempo, and two proud clubs wearing their history on their sleeves. Played in front of a strong crowd at South Melbourne's Lakeside Stadium, an impressive turnout for a second division fixture, the match delivered a spectacle worthy of the occasion. The game began cautiously, both sides aware of the weight of history behind them. Olympic pressed with real intent, and their early efforts paid off in the 12th minute when debutant Ali Auglah unleashed a superb long-range strike that slipped past South goalkeeper Javi Lopez and nestled into the bottom corner. The away fans erupted. Olympic had drawn first blood in the new era. But South Melbourne's response was fierce. They built pressure through set pieces, with Marko Jankovic and Nawel Boneda both going close before half-time. And just as it looked like Olympic would go into the break with the lead, a long throw found its way into the box and Yuki Uchida hammered home the equaliser with the last kick of the first half. That goal changed the mood entirely. South carried that momentum into the second half, taking the lead inside 10 minutes through Oliver Lavale, who scrambled home from close range after another spell of pressure. The stadium came alive. It felt like a night from the old NSL, with fans chanting, drums beating, and emotions spilling from the stands. Olympic, though, weren't done. The lively Ryan Fuetz struck the post midway through the second half, and with just minutes remaining, he produced a moment of magic. Cutting in from the left, he unleashed a dipping strike that soared into the top corner, a goal that could be replayed for years to come. It was 2-2, and the sense of drama was electric. But South Melbourne weren't finished either. In the 87th minute, Jordan Lampard curled a stunning effort into the top left corner to restore the lead and ultimately seal a 3-2 victory for the hosts. It was the perfect curtain raiser, 5 goals, 3 of them spectacular, and a contest that embodied everything this competition should stand for: quality, resilience, and pride. It wasn't just the result that mattered, it was the atmosphere. The crowd, large by local football standards, reminded everyone that when you give Australian fans something real, something rooted in history and meaning, they will show up. It proved that there is a deep appetite for the local game, one that only needs to be nurtured. And while the spotlight was on Olympic and South, it's also worth noting the incredible work being done elsewhere in the lead-up to this league's launch. Heidelberg United, for instance, have been one of the standout stories of recent years. Their consistency in NPL Victoria, their deep runs in the Australia Cup, and their strong community engagement have shown exactly what a well-run traditional club can achieve. Heidelberg's ability to blend old-school grit with modern professionalism has become a benchmark, a model for what a successful championship club can look like. This launch matters because it's the first genuine attempt to reconnect the pyramid. For years, Australia has had a top division without promotion or relegation, something that just feels incomplete to lifelong football fans. The championship brings back hope that one day, the dream of climbing the ladder might be real again. For kids playing in local clubs today, it means they might not have to go overseas or switch sports to chase a dream. For clubs like Olympic, South Melbourne, and Heidelberg, it means recognition for decades of hard work that kept Australian football alive when nobody else was watching. And for fans, it means choice. You can support Sydney FC on a Saturday night, and still go down to Belmore or Lakeside on Sunday to cheer for your community club. That's not division, that's unity. Now, let's be honest, the Australian sporting landscape is crowded. You've got AFL, NRL, cricket, basketball, you name it. But here's the thing, football doesn't need to replace anything to succeed. It just needs to be supported properly. Despite what the media sometimes says, football is already the most played sport in Australia. It's just that our fans are split. Some follow the A-League, some the local clubs, and millions follow the Premier League or La Liga from their couches. That's not a weakness. It's a foundation. Because if we can connect those layers, the local, the national, and the global, we can finally build the kind of football culture this country deserves. The Australian Championship is a chance to heal the divide between the old and the new. The A-League gave us professionalism, visibility, and a connection to the modern football world. But the Championship brings back the romance, the terraces, the tradition, the clubs that have been around since before many of us were born. If Football Australia can keep it transparent, community-driven, and financially sustainable, then this could be the turning point. Imagine a future where a team from the second division earns promotion to the A-League. Imagine Sydney Olympic back in the top flight, facing Sydney FC in a derby that carries decades of history and local pride. That's the dream, and it's one worth fighting for. For me, last night was emotional. I thought back to my childhood, playing in the schoolyard, wearing blue and white, surrounded by kids from every background. Greek, Croatian, Lebanese, Aussie, all together because of football. That's the Australia I love. That's the football I love. Football has always been the most inclusive sport in this country. It's not about class or postcode, it's about passion. And if this championship can bring those values back into the national spotlight, then the future of the game here is brighter than ever. So here's to the Australian Championship, to the clubs that never gave up, the fans who stayed loyal, and the next generation of players who might grow up dreaming not just of Liverpool or Barcelona, but of Sydney Olympic, South Melbourne, and Heidelberg United. Because in the end, this isn't just a relaunch of a competition. It's a rebirth of belief that Australian football, in all its diversity and history, still has its best chapters ahead.